Anyway, recap here. Our film begins with a sentient sword, reminiscing about how he met his catgirl companion. After dying in the real world, a man suddenly awoke in a new world. As a sword, he's unusually calm and understanding about his situation, and immediately checks his stats, where he learns that he's classified as an intelligent weapon, and that he already has several skills at his disposal. When goblins start disrespecting him, he uses his telekinesis skill to move his body around, and slice through every goblin. With each kill, the sword grows stronger. By copying the skills of his victims, this brings him a sense of profound satisfaction, as he is fulfilling his purpose as a sword, but he is saddened that he doesn't have a wielder yet. In order to make his future wielder proud, he resolves himself to become stronger and stronger, by killing more creatures and copying their skills. At that same moment, a wounded cat girl looks up at the sky, and wishes to become stronger as well. Despite being a helpless slave, she still tries to protect others, and shows that she's not afraid to fight for what's right. However, the collar around her neck prevents her from rebelling against her owners. Every day, she thinks to herself that she desperately wants to grow stronger. Elsewhere, the sword travels through the land, killing all kinds of dangerous creatures, and absorbing their skills in the process, while also enhancing the skills that he already has. Every night, he returns to his pedestal a little bit stronger than before, and excited to someday find a wielder. The further away he travels from his pedestal, the more powerful creatures are, and after killing most creatures in all 4 areas, the sword has no choice but to travel to the 5th area, the most dangerous one. There he slays even more terrifying creatures, and absorbs their overpowered skills. By killing a slime boss, and barely managing to survive, he copies its interdimensional inventory skill, which gives him infinite storage space. After all his accomplishments, and after slaying so many creatures, the sword has gained an unbelievable amount of skills. With no threats left in the 5th area, the sword ventures even further beyond, but when he lands on the ground, he ends up stuck, and can't seem to use any of his skills to fly out. Every time he uses a skill, the ground beneath him drains his mana. With no way to escape his current predicament, he prays for a cute elf warrior to come, pick him up and wield him. But unfortunately for the sword, he spends the next month stuck in this exact spot, and slowly loses his mind. Elsewhere, a 2-headed bear rampages through the caravan, indiscriminately killing everything in its path. Upon seeing this, the cat girl knows that she's going to die, but rather than run, she picks up a stick and tries to stand her ground. The bear knocks her away, and just when all seem doomed, she notices the sword in the ground. She grabs his handle, and is immediately able to hear the sword's voice, who communicates with her telepathically. He had been desperately waiting for over a month for someone to come and wield him, so he's very thankful to her, and it doesn't take long for the two to become acquainted. She equips him, and becomes registered as his official wielder. This grants her access to all of the sword's skills, including his level 7 sword mastery, which immediately makes her an expert swordsman. With the sword's guidance, she's able to defeat the bear in a matter of seconds. After defeating the bear, she introduces herself as Fran, a member of a species known as Black Cat. She explains that she's a slave, and that her collar prevents her from disobeying her owner, so the sword uses telekinesis to break her owner's neck, and burns the contract that controlled her collar. With this, she is now free to live life as she chooses, but all she wants to do is grow stronger, so that she can someday evolve. The sword offers to teach her everything he knows, in exchange for her becoming his permanent wielder, and she of course agrees. However, the sword realizes that he doesn't really have a name, so Fran decides to give him one. She names him Shisho, which means teacher in Japanese, and with that, Fran and Shisho begin their journey together. We then learn that beast people have the ability to evolve once they max out their stats, but no black cat in history has ever been able to evolve, which makes them a species that is often discriminated against and looked down on. Fran's parents tried relentlessly to evolve but were unable to do so, and eventually perished. Fran desperately wants to grow stronger, so she can become the first in her speech used to evolve. While traveling, Fran and Shisho run into a caravan being attacked by a group of goblins. They make quick work of the goblins, and Shisho is impressed by how quickly Fran is improving. The man thanks Fran for saving him, and offers to take her to the nearest city. She accepts his offer, but Shisho warns Fran not to let anyone know that she's in possession of an intelligent weapon. While heading to town, the man tells them that a powerful creature has pushed weaker creatures away from their usual habitats, which is why there has been more goblin attacks lately. Shisho realizes that he is actually the powerful being that has unwillingly caused this situation. A passenger mumbles to themselves that Fran is a filthy black cat, but she seems unbothered by this. Later, when Fran is fast asleep, Shisho reflects on the passenger's comment and begins to understand a little bit more about the discrimination that Fran has experienced her whole life. Once they arrive in town, Shisho uses his appraisal skills to see the strength of other weapons, and is depressed to find out that there are weapons with higher stats than him. But Fran reassures him that none of the other weapons have his intelligence, nor access to his powerful skills. Shisho is extremely happy to have such a considerate wielder that takes such good care of him. When they arrive at the Adventurous Guild, the clerk, named Nell, tries to convince Fran to give up on becoming an adventurer, because she's just a child, but Fran insists on taking the adventurous trial test anyways. This test is led by Donald Rond, who lets out an intimidating aura. This is usually enough to make rookies give up, but Fran is completely unfazed by this. Much to no surprise, Fran spends most of the fight avoiding Dondren's attacks, while Shisho assists her with supportive spells. They immobilized Anadrin with the use of earth magic, followed by a high-level fire spell, and ending with a powerful sword thrust. Nell is shocked that Fran is able to combine sword skills with magic, something considered impossible, unless Fran had two brains, and something even high-level adventurers can't do. Donaldrin gives Fran a thumbs up, bringing the trial to an end. Fran is then taken to a mana crystal that is supposed to assess her strength, and give her a class based on her compatibility, but the crystal gives Fran an unimaginable amount of classes to choose from. Among all the options, Fran chooses Sword Mage. She's then given her official adventurer's identification card. With all that out of the way, Shisho instructs Fran to use the interdimensional inventory to pull out some loot, which they then sell to the guild for 190,000 gold. This earns jealousy from nearby mercenaries, who confront Fran, believing that a black cat could only acquire such wealth by being a thief or a liar. Shisho urges Fran to stay calm and not escalate things, so she won't have to use him. But when one of the mercenaries insults the black cat race, Fran instantly severs his legs without unsheathing Shisho, and beats up the remaining mercenaries, with some good old-fashioned punches and kicks. The beaten-up mercenaries insist that Fran be arrested, but now in the guild adventurers all agree that what Fran did was self-defense, and Nell reveals her dark side by finding the lead mercenary 100,000 gold, and refusing to heal his legs until he pays up. As they walk out of the adventurers guild, Shisho decides that they need a room for the night, and armor for Fran. Meanwhile, a dwarf adventurer uses God's Sight, the highest level appraisal skill, and becomes fully aware that Shisho is in fact an intelligent weapon.